Grow your practice, grow your wealth, grow your impact. Find out how to spend less time in the dental chair and more time on the things you love.
Welcome back to the Dental Wealth Podcast. Glad to have you back. Really hope you enjoyed last week. I got a lot of really positive feedback. We love to hear your comments and hope it's helpful. Today I want to talk about kind of just from a wealth standpoint, some fundamentals to understand. And I'm going to use a large company as an example, and then I'm going to kind of go to how this affects us. And let me tell you what I mean by that. So years ago, I heard this statement, and I think it's so true, and it proves to be true over and over again. And if you got a pen and paper, I want you to write it down. So take a pen and paper and just sit down, write it down. If you're driving, don't do that. But something I want you to think about: income, revenues, what do you want to call it? Money, an increase in revenues will not help you become more disciplined. You will not save more, and you will not give more because you make more money. Now, I want you to let that sit for a moment. By the way, there's like this immediate reaction, which is, well, of course it will. Eric, the reason I don't save is because I don't have anything at the end of the day. I don't have anything left. And so how would I save if I don't have any money? And I spend a lot of money now, Eric. I spend a lot of money now, but if I had more money, see, I make $100,000 a year, or whatever your number is. It could be $500,000. It could be $50,000. And it's like this idea that once I make more money, the thing is, Eric, if I made more money, if I had more money, then I would become more disciplined. Like I'd be this disciplined person. And what I'm doing right now is I'm living undisciplined, and this idea in this idea that eventually I will become disciplined. So I am going to become a disciplined person once I fill in the revenue number. And it allows us, in a sense, to take the pressure off. We get to take the pressure off ourselves, and we get to save less. And we tell ourselves in the future that I will save. And in the future, I will give. Eric, you don't understand. At the end of the month, I don't have anything left to give. So how am I supposed to give? That's the whole reason I'm working with you, is that I'll make more money, and then I'll become more disciplined, and I'll save more, and I'll give more. If I could just make more. And I think on this podcast before, I've explained that the person that had come to me that was spending $193,000 a month in personal income. That's per month, spending $193,000 a month in personal income. And you might say, well, that's like impossible. That's impossible to do. But it's not. And what ends up happening, and by the way, this person came to me because they said was that they just needed to make more money. That their problem, by the way, was cash. And the reason I even thought about this podcast today was Delta cutting back some of the things they do from a financial standpoint, because they've been hit by COVID and they're trying to protect themselves. And so they're cutting back on certain things, not because of COVID. A lot of companies have used COVID for an excuse to cut back on certain things, but I wonder about it, because one of the biggest things that has been happening for at least the last half of a decade is everyone talks about the airlines have been making record profits for years. And yet here we are in a situation where that money hasn't been saved. Not the way it obviously needed to be, or they didn't have the access to capital, or they're being smart with their capital. But either way, wouldn't, if you had billion-dollar profits for year after year after year, have billions of dollars to easily tap into? And it doesn't make, I don't have the financials of Delta in front of me, and I don't think you need to get transfixed on Delta as a case study. I'm more or less talking about companies that we think that, and I'm giving you a big company because I want you to hear what I'm saying. We assume that a company like Lehman Brothers could never go out of business. We assume companies like Pier 1 would never go out of business. Now, we know that what's happening in the marketplace, and we're seeing literally the entire landscape, the business landscape, is being littered with companies that are going out of business and they're struggling and they don't have any cash. Now, we've talked about their business model on here before and those types of things, but as a dental practitioner, I want you to study those companies. And I want you to study and think about this, because as a dental practitioner, one of the things that I hear often is, if my dental practice had more revenue, right? And this is, by the way, where consultants come in. They promise you, if you come in, you're going to pay us a check and we're going to grow your revenues. And whether they do or not, the question is, will that increase in revenues? Because my biggest argument always with the consulting, at least especially the dental consulting industry, I've always said, okay, so you grow your revenues. Okay, great. To what ends? To what ends? I'll just grow the revenues. I have seen so many dental practices that have grown the revenues and actually had less money, less capital in the bank, less profit. And they were growing, and yet they had less profit. And so sometimes these people sell you on this concept of idea. Well, you just grow, and then when you grow, you'll have more money, and so you'll be more disciplined. You'll make better financial decisions, and you're going to have plenty of money to save, and you'll be able to put money in your investments accounts, and you'll be able to give all this money away because. And it isn't true. Like, I'm here to tell you, it's not true. Like, if you're not disciplined now, what makes you think more money will make you disciplined? There will always be something else, and it always pushes up, right? I mean, we could kind of go through a simple enough example. You first get out of dental school, and maybe you're driving, right? You're driving to wherever you got to go because you have no money. Then you become an associate, and you start to maybe even have a family, and you start to say, we're not going to spend 8 hours in the car anymore. It doesn't really make sense, financially speaking. We should be, able to fly. So we're going to fly. And so we'll fly our family where we want to go. And then the next thing happens, you start to go, well, I don't think I should be in the back of the plane. I mean, I'm a doctor. I certainly should be at least in Delta Comfort. We're an Atlanta-based company, so I'll use Delta. And so I should be at least in Delta Comfort, the upgraded section. And then it comes to this point where it goes, well, why would I ever want to fly back there? I should be in first class. I mean, how I'm a successful doctor. I should be sitting in first class. And if you really make it big, well, then why should I have to deal with airports? I'll go fly private. And so what ends up happening is that expenses will rise to meet income. And so, I think 2 podcasts ago, I shared with you this idea of your identity. And I said your identity, that maybe you should make investments in yourself and in your automobiles and your life to feel more successful, because it creates an identity and you will pursue that. There's a second component of this, though. Okay, that's kind of like the one step is to change your identity and your mindset. But the next step you'd have to argue would be to be disciplined around your revenue, because you'll indefinitely spend it all. And we have example after example after example after example of company after company after company who did not make disciplined decisions. And it's not just dental companies, it's all companies. See, the idea was, as these companies get bigger, they'll make better decisions. They can hire more talented people, and their whole board is C-level executives with Ivy League educations, and they should be able to make these great decisions because they're so educated, and yet they make bonehead decision after bonehead decision. Growing revenues alone will not make you more disciplined. It will not make you save more, and it certainly won't make you give more. One of the greatest things I've ever heard is, if it won't give 10 cents out of $1, you think you're going to give 10 million out of 100 million? No, absolutely not. And so this could go to any example we have in life. So I do believe your identity is so important because it puts you on a trajectory. It's the vision for your life. It's who you believe you are and who you want to be ultimately. And I think you've got to act in that way, whether it's taking care of your team and because you might identify as I'm someone who takes care of my team and someone who takes care of my community, and I'm someone who dresses sharp and I have nice cars, or whatever it ends up being, becomes a successful identity, and success is different to different people. But as part of that identity, can I add the component of the identity that matters a lot, which is the last time I was talking about really success and seeing yourself as the successful people, and success attracts success. And so by being in a success mindset and a success persona, then what ends up happening is you attract that, and you'll tend to have a higher income, and you'll be wanting to earn more, and you will earn more. But then the other part of that is like that same thing. I challenge you. I said, I want you to write I am versus I want to be. Don't write goals, write I am disciplined around money. See, that can be an identity too. So adding to your identity, I am successful. I dress well. I drive a nice car, whatever that identity is. I make so much money. But then I would add to your identity, as you're adding to that, is I am disciplined with money, that I am a good steward of money, that I accumulate and save a certain portion of everything I make, that I am constantly giving and taking care of those who have helped me get to where I am today. Whether that be my team, my family, my community, that I'm a person of value and core values. And so when we start creating this identity and we start pursuing success, I want you to hear me in this, because the first part is I need to see myself as of success and being of success. And I need to see that clearly so that I can go after and become the person that I identify, because human beings need to become that person that they identify as. But I want you to add the qualitative too, and then turn it into quantitative. I am a great leader, right? It's such a powerful statement, because if you identify as a great leader, then you need to go educate yourself on what great leaders do and read books about what great leaders do and talk about great leadership skills. And then you instill that upon your team. And when it comes to money, which is where I started this conversation off, I'm disciplined. It's interesting, when all the COVID happened, when all this kind of went down and we were trying to make decisions as a company here, one of the greatest comments that somebody said to me was, "Thank you, Eric, for being a great saver." And it was a team member, who said to me, "Thank you for being such a good saver." Isn't that identity? Do you think that reinforced an identity in me? Watching the team members' faces and being able to look back and say, "You're welcome." And knowing that I had saved and accumulated because I knew winter was coming. And by doing that, when the team was fearful, I was not. And I was able to, there was some fear. I don't want the ego take over, but you understand that we, from a financial standpoint, the company had made smart decisions. Has your company made smart decisions? And are you making smart decisions today? Are you utilizing COVID as an excuse, or are you utilizing COVID as a reason and a jumping point why you became more disciplined, why you were making certain moves? For instance, you might say, I was not disciplined prior to COVID, and I found myself stressed. I, as a leader, will always be disciplined. I am disciplined as a person. I am a saver. I learned, by the way, you can learn from an experience and say, from that, I learned to be a saver. I learned to give back. And I think that when we start doing that, so what I'm trying to do in this podcast is help you to get rid of this mindset that is perpetuated by the media. It's perpetuated by Instagram. It's perpetuated by since we were growing up with rock stars and movie stars, and it goes back to that whole, I'll be happy when, right? I'll be happy once I get that. But it's chasing the horizon. You never get there. No matter how much you accumulate, no matter how much you have, you still want more. And so rarely does anybody say, I'm good now. Are you disciplined? Would you say you're disciplined? Maybe a good way to say that is, are you a good steward of money? Money is an energy. You must protect it and you must steward it. Are you a good steward? And would you say that you are one of those people that really truly do value money and value it coming to you and what you do with that? It's very powerful. Are you a good saver? I think this idea, like we teach a system here at Tower Leadership about accumulating and getting ready for capital investments that are coming up and making sure that there's enough capital set aside for those so that if we need to, we can pay cash. So that identity becomes, I create a system which in turn creates an identity because I want people to save. Are you a giver? Giving means a lot of things to a lot of different people. Some give because they believe in tithing. Some give to their team. Some give to their community. Some give to everybody they possibly can. Some people are completely selfless. Maybe they get too far on one end, maybe sometimes. But if you've said to yourself that I'm not going to become a giver, I'm going to become a giver when, then you've made a crucial mistake in your financial planning and your mindset and your identity. And that's what this is I'm trying to get you into a wealth mindset. And people that are wealthy have a different mindset. They have a different identity. So I want you to add to your identity list that you created last week. And if you didn't go back and listen to that podcast, I encourage you to go back and listen to it. And I want you to add on there that I am disciplined. Do not write, I will become disciplined. I want you to write, I am disciplined. So you might be this person of success, and I am a successful person. I do this and I do that. You might have written down this identity last week, and then I want you to add to it that as a business owner, as a CEO, I am disciplined. That I am a great fiduciary of money, that I take care of the things that I need to take care of, that I'm responsible with money, and I take that responsibility very seriously. That I don't waste money on things that have no return on investment, right? Some people can buy a scanner and make a great deal of money on them, and some is a complete waste of money. How many purchases do we make in a dental practice because somebody told us from a company that it was on sale or a good deal, or they showed us the flashy bells and they showed us the flashy whistles or the new software, the new Syric or whatever it is, and you bought it. In some cases, wasted 6 figures on something that had little to no ROI, but was fancy. And we could count it as a business expense. So we bought it, and yet we rarely use it and didn't make revenues go up. There was no ROI. That's not being disciplined about money. Disciplined business owners buy things that have return. That's what they do. Disciplined people save more. I am a saver. I will make sure a certain portion of the money that I bring into this practice is set aside for future purchases, for future investments, so that I can take care of my community and take care of myself and take care of my family. I take that responsibility very seriously. And as part of your identity, a giver. Are you asking how you can help? How do you use this dental practice to become more, to create more, to build more? Are you just looking to see how you can buy a new car, or new home, a new vacation? You'll never have enough. So I want to encourage you as you listen to this. And this is a wealth mindset. It's another state of this wealth, right? I'm kind of giving you more an advanced state, and hopefully that you're, an avid listener and you're hearing a philosophy, because this is a philosophy that I've been able to craft by watching hundreds and hundreds and thousands of successful people, but also coaching them and seeing what works and what doesn't work. And I give you the example of Delta or Pier 1 or Lehman Brothers, or we could I mean, go open up the newspaper and you'll find companies going out of business right now. They're everywhere because they were not disciplined and they didn't save. And then you look at companies like Chick-fil-A, who embodies being disciplined, saving, and giving. And that stuff matters. And it matters to wealth, and it matters to your identity. So add those things to your identity. Add those things to who you are. Walk around and say, I am a saver. It feels good, right? Be disciplined about those words that you use. And they'll have a huge impact in your wealth, your impact, and your legacy. Hey guys, hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Passionate about the work we do here, passionate about the message. I love coming to you every week. I ask you to do me a favor. Do me a favor. If you've enjoyed this message, if you like this type of message, share this. Share it with a friend, share it with a colleague. Click like, takes about a millisecond. Click like, subscribe, things like this. When I see the numbers and I see the feedback, it encourages me to continue to produce this type of free content to make sure my passion which is taking care of doctors, is put out into the marketplace. And so thank you for your feedback, comments, shares, likes, and everything you guys do. Hope you have a great day. We'll talk to you next time.